Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt here, Tanks Lawn Maintenance. It is Sunday evening, and I am winding down my weekend, getting ready to get back in the swing of going back to my full-time job. Man, one of these days, I'm gonna be able to quit my job and start doing lawn care full-time. Just praying that day will come sooner rather than later. I don't know how much more of this I can take, guys. But anyway, just wanted to hop on here real quick and give y'all somewhat of a follow-up video from the one I put out yesterday. It was the I can't remember the name of it now, the title of the video. I think it was first year setup do's and don'ts or something like that. But it's basically saying what I would have done differently if I could go back in time and do things. But I wanted to follow up that video today. I did a lot of thinking, and everything in that video I said was true, and a lot of that was speaking out of frustration. And I don't regret any decision that I made as far as trying to start my own business. Yeah, it is a learning curve, and also it is the most frustrating, I'd say probably the most frustrating part about the first 6 months of my journey so far is that when you pull up to a yard and, like I said yesterday, I've got that zero turn mower sitting on my trailer, but I'm having to push mow a yard because somebody wants it bagged, or because I just can't fit my zero turn into a backyard because of a gate being so small. But the most frustrating part about that is, other than the obvious, the time consumption is seeing another lawn care provider pull into the yard next door, and they're there 15, 20 minutes tops, and I'm talking about just one person getting out, string trimming, and mowing front and back, and then doing the final blow off. And now granted, I'm sure most of these guys have been in the business long enough to where they have acquired the business and built themselves up to where they can buy bigger, better, faster equipment. And I'm sure that a lot of these people went through the same things that I am going through, and probably a lot of you have gone through as well. But it's frustrating, because you'll be halfway done with a yard, and you'll see somebody pull into a yard and then pull out before you get done. And it's like, man, it's discouraging. But on the other hand, you can't look at it as being discouraging. You have to look at it as something to work for, something to work towards. And that's the way I'm having to force myself to look at it, because I'm not gonna lie to you, it is very discouraging seeing things like that. But I have to keep reminding myself that everybody started somewhere. And I made some mistakes. I was hard-headed. My wife, she'd be the first one to tell you that I should have just listened to a lot of people that were telling me things, and including her. She's never been in this business before. She didn't know anything going into it, but she did have the sense enough to know not to rush things. And like I told y'all yesterday, I'm the world's worst when it comes to rushing things. And if I get my mind set on something, I wanted it yesterday. But moving forward, I have learned a lot in the past 6 months. I really have. And for one, the obvious is not rushing things on buying equipment, and making sure that before I pull the trigger on buying something, that it is exactly what I need, and that I'm not going to be wasting my money or regret the decision to buy that piece of equipment 3, 4, 5 months down the road. But that being the main thing that I've learned. And then second off is you know, don't be scared. I mean, there was a couple of things that I found out this spring before the season actually really started good. It was when I was doing quotes. I'd pull into a yard, and I mean, the yard would be just flat out a mess. You know, there'd be leaves all over the place. The grass would be 1.5 feet, 2 feet high. The bushes would be all out of whack, and their beds would be all jacked up. And I turned down probably 3 or 4 properties because of that. You know, I was just intimidated by it. You know, and I'm sure probably some of you may understand that. You know, I mean, I feel like in the back of my head, you know, I keep telling myself that I'm not the first person that's been through this, that everybody has gone through this, been intimidated by things. But don't be intimidated by how bad a yard looks, because it may. One thing you have to realize in the very beginning of the spring, early spring, is when you're doing spring cleanups, and it's something I learned this year, and it may not be this way in all areas or for everybody, but it is that way in my area. And when you do a spring cleanup, a lot of times people will call you at the end of February or very early March, and grass is not growing all that high. And you'll do a spring cleanup, you'll give them a quote on it, and you'll also give them a quote, or me, I would also give them a quote to keep their yard maintained, whether it be just mowing their grass, or whether it be mowing their grass and trimming their bushes, or, you know, pruning trees, mowing grass, trimming bushes, and throwing down some sort of bedding, whether it be pine straw or mulch. I would give them a mulch for, or a quote for all of that. But what you have to realize is, yes, it may take you a long time to get that yard whipped back into shape as far as the hours, and you may underquote it, but you picked up a customer for the year, for one, and for two, you learned at that instant not to underquote something. You learned it's a little bit more that you gained, a little bit more knowledge that you gained on quoting spring cleanups and things of that nature. And also, when it comes to that kind of stuff, you have to realize that you may have 2 or 3 cleanups scheduled in a day, and but you may think you just ain't got time to do all these cleanups, but in reality you kind of do, because if you're like me, you have a full-time job, you can do one a day, and it might be all you get, but in reality it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks before you have to keep that yard maintained, because the grass just isn't growing yet, and they're not going to have you come out and keep their lawn mowed when the grass is not growing. In my area anyway. I can't speak for the rest of the country, but that's the way it is in my area. And that's something I learned the hard way this year, but moving forward I know that now. And 2 or 3, you know, you have to think outside of the box. You may have to push mow yards, guys. I mean, you see a lot of these companies out here don't even have a push mower on the trailer, and that's fine. A lot of people are set up to where their guys ain't push mowing. And look, I hope to be that way one day. And but when you're starting out, you may have to do some push mowing, and because if you're like me, you're in a situation where you can't really turn down any work because of a customer that wants their yard push mowed, or wants their yard bagged, and you don't have a bagging system except for what you have on your residential push mower that you use around your house. And so don't be scared to do that up front. And also, another thing that I learned is don't be scared to drop a price on somebody. And I don't mean drop the price. I mean, just because it seems like it's a lot of money to you, it may not be worth it to you. You have to realize you cannot change your rates just because you feel like it's more than what you would pay. If you're charging, just say you're charging $60 an hour for a cleanup, and this job is going to take 4-5 hours, and you need to charge 4 or 5 hours, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to get that job just because of the simple fact these people do not want to fool with it. If they wanted to get out there and clean it up, or if they didn't mind getting out there cleaning it up, they wouldn't have called you to begin with. A lot of times they're willing to pay whatever it takes to get it done. And now that don't mean go out there and just rip somebody off, but set your prices at the beginning of the season for each individual job. Figure out what you need per hour, and you have to understand if you got insurance and things like that you're having to pay, if you got payroll, things of that nature. At the end of the day, you have to make a profit. Do not sell yourself short on a job, guys. So these are all things that I've learned so far going into this season. But as far as advice goes, I'm sure a lot of you probably aren't going to come to a guy like me that's only been doing this for half a year. We're not even halfway through the growing season. And the only reason I say half a year is because I actually did my first job in November. And it was a gigantic leaf cleanup that I severely undersold. And I learned a valuable lesson that day, but I also picked up a year-round customer. But if the main advice I would give anybody going into this business is, one, do not spend a dime on anything until you get a customer. Okay? You need to have, of course, you've got to have a lawnmower, got to have a blower, got to have a string trimmer. A lot of people start their business with a broom instead of a blower, and I'm not knocking that at all. If you just can't afford a blower, I get it. You got to do what you got to do. I understand that. Me, I'm a little bit more fortunate than some people. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this because I want freedom. And so I was in a little bit better position to be able to buy some equipment, and some things I wish I hadn't have bought, and some things I wish I had have bought. But the main things you need is something to cut grass with, something to trim around the edges and to edge properties with, and something to clean the properties up after you're done mowing. That's the main things you need. And you don't really need a hedge trimmer. I mean, you can go out there with a pair of shears if you got to, and just chop a few of those long shoots coming off of the shrubs, and just let your customer know, like, look, I'm working up to better equipment, but as of right now, this is the best I can do. And honesty will get you a lot further than what you realize. And you may only chop off 1 or 2 limbs coming off of those bushes, but it's going to look a ton better than what it did when you went into that property. So and your customers understand that, and if they're willing to take a chance on you, then 9 times out of 10 they're willing to take a chance for a few months, or for the first season or whatever it may be, till you can get your feet firmly planted into a situation where you're able to go out and buy better equipment. But if it were me, what I would tell anybody going into this business is, do not spend a dime. Do not spend a dime. You honestly and truly, you don't even have to have a trailer. If you've got a pickup truck, you can just throw a push mower in the back, a blower, and a string trimmer, and go about your business the way you need to go about it. You can save up toward that other stuff later. And but I will say this: if you have some funds saved up that you can spend a little bit of money, don't go out and buy some 40-foot or 40-inch zero-turn mower, because you don't know what kind of properties you're going to be picking up, and you cannot predict the future. You can sit here and say all day long, if these properties got a gate, I'm gonna have to turn them down. The reality is, you can't turn these properties down when you're starting out. You've got to get everything that you can up front to get some revenue going. And then later on in your business, you can start turning properties loose because it's just not feasible or not doesn't make sense for you to keep them, you know. But that's just my 2 cents, guys. If I had some advice to give somebody, that's the advice I would give. Don't spend any money. Don't be scared. Don't sell yourself short, guys. And but if there's anything that you guys would like to add to that, feel free to drop it in the comment box below. And or anything you guys might want to tell me, you know, any suggestions you might want to give me, any advice, you know, I'm open to suggestions. I'm still new at this myself, but I will say it's a lot of hard work, but it's enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. And it's just like anything else, you know, you get a routine, and you start your day with a certain frame of mind, and the day is what you make of it. But there was something else I wanted to say, but I couldn't think of what it was. But yeah, that's all I can think of right now, guys. So if you guys got anything that you want to add, just drop in the comments below. And oh, I know what it was. I just reached 20 hours on the Spartan, and I do plan on doing a review on it. And I don't know when that's going to be. It might be one day next weekend if I get time, or it might be Wednesday. I don't know what's going on Wednesday. I know most of you know Wednesday is my light day at my full-time job, and I don't have any yards scheduled for Wednesday. And I may just do that when I get off of work Wednesday. Come home and give you a rundown on the Spartan RZC 42. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna hop off here. I'm gonna go get cleaned up, get shaved up, trimmed up, and get my stuff out and be ready for the week. But until I see y'all again, y'all keep cutting that grass and keep making that money. Holler at y'all on the next one. Bye.